In the movie Inception, there were dreams within dreams. Did you know that you can run a virtual machine within a virtual machine? Don't believe me? Check this out. All right, let me shrink my face here. All right, so here what we have on screen, we're looking at a Proxmox 8.0 hypervisor running on my home Rocky Linux server. All right, still don't believe me? Let's go ahead and go over to that server and check it out. Oops, went a little too fast. All right, here we go. Proxmox 8.0. We can see that right here on my running virtual machine list. Now, let me show you something else as well, if you still don't believe me. Here, we can see here, Proxmox, we've got this VM right here, Debian 12, and it started. And over here, we've got the actual console. And I'm sorry that the text is really small on that, but I'm just showing this for demonstration purposes. I won't be doing anything in this particular virtual machine. So yeah, we can see that it is indeed working. Now, this is B from Talk Tech, and today I'm going to explain to you how all of this is possible, so stick with me. I have a favor to ask. If you like this type of video and want to see more content like it, make sure you are subscribed and hit the bell button for notifications. Also, don't forget to give this video a like if you like it, give it a dislike if you didn't like it. Lastly, let me know what you liked, didn't like, or if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or emotional outbursts down in the comment section below. And lastly, make sure you stick around all the way to the end to get the most out of this video. Let's do this thing. So, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and move over here to a different website. And nested virtualization is what we're talking about today. Now, nested virtualization allows you to create a virtual machine within a virtual machine. So that Inception type scenario. It allows the virtual machine to have access to the underlying hardware of the system. Now, we can actually see this here. So this is actually from Microsoft's website, and I will include this link down in the description below if you want to learn more, or just check out the images for yourself. But here is a regular hypervisor, working with a single VM working on that individual hypervisor. So we can see here we've got Hyper-V, which is the hypervisor. The concept is the same, even though we're talking about a Windows hypervisor in this particular case. We can see here that the resources from the computer are being passed to the hypervisor, and then those are being passed into the guest VM. Now, if we look down at this bottom image, this one's a little bit different. So we can see here that we've still got the hypervisor, we've still got the underlying hardware, but then here we've got another hypervisor, which is going to be that virtual machine that's running inside of the regular hypervisor. And then here, we're going to have this virtual machine running within this virtual machine. And we can see that here, it's actually being passed from the hardware up to the first level of hypervisor, and then up to the virtual machine within that hypervisor VM that's on the original hypervisor. So, and you could, I'm not sure what the limitations are, but I've never tried it more than, just one additional layer of a virtual machine. But if that's something that you want to explore, go ahead and knock yourself out. But I want to go ahead and give you some example use cases for nested virtualization. So the first use case is going to be useful for testing purposes. Just like I'm doing in this video, I've recently cut down on the number of systems that I own, so VMs are done on my home server. The example that I showed you was on my home server, exactly like I stated. Now, another use case is going to be if you work in a development environment. Working in a development environment, say in that environment, your employer, whoever has you working primarily off of virtual machines in the cloud. They don't want to provide laptops, so they just have you sign in on your own device, and then you do all that stuff from the cloud. Well, in order to be able to test all of your code and stuff like that, you're going to need to be able to test it on the operating system that you're coding for. Because you may be using like Ubuntu to code, but yet you want to code Windows applications or Mac applications. So you're going to need virtual machines for these to be able to go ahead and develop for those operating systems. And that's where this would come in, is you would be able to go ahead and have nested virtualization that is going to allow you to create virtual machines within your virtual machines. Another use case is going to be a way that you might use it is to say that you have one computer system, but you want to play with a type 1 type hypervisor. So say, for example, you have a Windows laptop and you want to be able to go ahead and experiment with something like Proxmox. And you're like, well, I don't want to wipe out my Windows laptop. Well, you can. VirtualBox has nested virtualization built into it, so you can actually use VirtualBox to create a VM that is going to be running that Proxmox, and you can go ahead and create your VMs within that VM. So it's pretty cool. It allows you to do that. I've actually done that on a previous Windows laptop that I had, just to kind of test it out and play around with it. Maybe that's something I might do here in the future. I've actually got a Windows virtual machine that's running on my home server, and I could always go ahead and do that. So that may be something I consider. Let me know if that's something that you're interested in down in the comment section below. So let's go ahead and start talking about enabling it now. All right, I'm going to clear this out. So now, when we're talking about enabling virtualization, it's going to depend on whether you're using AMD or Intel processors. Now, if you want to go ahead and confirm if your processor supports nested virtualization, what you'll do is you'll go ahead and do a cat command, and you'll go ahead and do sys, and then you'll do module, and then you'll do KVM, and then AMD, parameters, and then nested. All right, perfect. There we go. Now, the only difference between doing this for AMD and Intel is that this right here is the AMD, will be Intel. This is not an Intel processor, so it's going to give us an error, but you can see the difference there. So then what we can see here is that when we ran the cat command on this particular file, we can see that it returned a 1. So if it returns either a Y or a 1, that means that your processor does indeed support nested virtualization. So you'll want to make sure that you do that. Now, to go ahead and actually set this up, what we're going to need to do here is we're going to need to do sudo. Sudo mod probe, which is going to allow us to manipulate kernel modules on the system. Then we're going to do tac R, and then we're going to go ahead, we would do a KVM, KVM underscore AMD. And actually, before I do that, let me go ahead and give me just a second here. KVM AMD, and then we'll go ahead and hit enter. And basically what this is going to do, it's going to remove that, it's going to remove the module, but currently the module is in use, so it's not going to remove it, but that's how you do it. And the only difference here between AMD and Intel is you would do Intel, and nothing's going to happen because that module doesn't exist. Now, to go ahead and be able to activate the nested virtualization, you're going to go ahead and do, let me clear this out so my head doesn't get in the way. You're going to do sudo mod probe, and then you would go ahead and do KVM, and in this case we're going to do AMD, and then we're going to go ahead and do nested equals 1. Right, and it's really not going to make any difference because I've actually already configured my system to have it permanently enabled. Now, using this method, using these commands that I just showed you, the mod probe tac R, KVM underscore in the architecture, and then this one right here, these are actually going to be if you only want to enable it temporarily. So if you just want to test it one time, that's it. But now, if you want to go ahead and make it permanent, I'm going to go ahead and show you that now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a Vim or whatever your text editor of choice is. We're going to go to the Etsy, and then we're going to do mod probe, and then we're going to go ahead and do D, and then we're going to do kvm.conf, which is going to allow us to do some configuration on KVM. And now here we've got two options here. See, mine is actually already unhashtagged, but this one right here still has it. So depending on your architecture, all you have to do is remove the hashtag there, and then go ahead and save it, and that's going to go ahead and permanently enable it. But just make sure before you go ahead and start using it that you're going to go ahead and reboot your system to make sure that everything is working correctly. So pretty easy stuff. Virtualization is such a cool technology, and nested virtualization makes it cooler. Check out the other videos in my Linux virtualization series, or if you're caught up, check out this other video from my channel instead. Remember, mistakes make you better, so keep on making them. Thank you so much for watching, and have the greatest of days.